everybody, welcome to the show that was only able to solve the Rubik's Pyramid. If you remember that. That's right, it's 5 minutes you won't get back. Little show will waste 5 minutes of your time, but just remember the 5 minutes doesn't start until we say it does. I'm Brian.
I'm Heather, and if you can't figure out what we could possibly be talking about by that. So, Brian.
Yes.
What percentage of people would you guess claim or believe that they have seen a ghost? You want me to give you some options?
No, I'm just going to throw a percentage.
Yep, good.
73%.
73%. So 73% of people believe that they've seen a ghost.
That's probably high. Is it high?
Yeah, it's closer to about 1 in 5, so closer to like 20%. 20% of people believe they have seen a ghost.
And you're in that 20%, right?
I wouldn't say see a ghost, but I think I've heard something before. But that you'd have to go back in time and rewatch one of our old episodes.
But yeah, that's right.
That's not
I'm not in that 20%.
You have not ever seen a ghost.
So no.
Okay.
No. I played one on TV. Yeah.
Okay. Am I starting the timer?
So the 5 minutes
starts.
We're gonna start that now. So today, if you haven't noticed, I want to do a quick movie review and maybe a little bit of reflection on stuff about the movie. Now, we saw Ghostbusters Afterlife, surprise, and I loved it. Did you?
I liked it. Yeah, I liked it a lot. Very much.
You know, and there's been all the complaints about, is there too much fan service versus story? Now, if I separate just the story, we're not going to talk about the actors in it and all that junk because, yes, the main character, all the people. Anyway, there's good acting in it. That sounds like the most generic movie review ever, but there's good acting in it. But, I mean, the story itself, I enjoyed, separated from a Ghostbusters movie. But did I think the fan service was too much? It's weird because maybe there was too much. I think it was done well. But I can honestly say I enjoyed the movie without it. But the question is, would I be as excited for it if it didn't give me the fan service? And the answer is probably no. So I struggle with how much I liked the movie because of the nostalgia versus the movie by itself.
So you're saying, like, basically coming in on, if you had never seen any of the other movies and you had no emotional attachment to any of the other ones, would you have enjoyed this movie as much?
Correct.
See, I say yes, because I feel like as far as the storyline goes, there was a lot of stuff that, like, kind of fell into place right along with, you know, like the first one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, you had this, it was like, I don't want to spoil anything, but so I feel like the story, but there was all these other emotional attachments. I actually think that if you had never seen the first movie and you watched this one and then went back and watched the first movie, I think you would, well, I guess it depends on what kind of movies you like, but I think that emotionally, I think that it kind of tugged on your heartstrings a little bit more. You know what I mean? With there was more elements of family and, yeah, I think without it, I think you would probably like this one more versus the first one.
But I don't think I would have been as excited for it. And so that's the catch, because I feel like, and this is what I wanted to bring up today, in correlation with Ghostbusters. Still go see it. I think you'll like it. But once again, the majority of the audience, once again, was probably more. There was some younger people there, because we're old. But anyway, there was definitely a larger percentage of people around, 40s, 30s, 40s. Once again, I feel like there's more of a connectivity to it.
And then they were bringing their kids to see it, which I think the kids liked it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But so, like, my reflection on it is, and even before we went to see this movie, when we'd see other movies just recently, it was so funny because we'd see a movie and the trailers for it would be Ghostbusters, The Matrix, and Scream. And I'm sitting there going, what decade are we living in? Are we living in an environment where original films get pushed to the wayside and the major push is on everything nostalgic now? Or at least big tentpole movies right now seem to be all, I mean, even look, I am the biggest Marvel movie fan on the planet, but we're still basing these characters off of nostalgia from when we were growing up and we read the comics. There can't be new fans from these characters they've never experienced before. But look, you're not going to see Spider-Man because you saw it first in the movie theater. Probably you go to see Spider-Man because you read the comics. So, it's one of those things where you're always fighting the nostalgia. And if you hear a weird whining in the background, it's our dog.
She's totally fine. She just talks.
But anyway. But the one thing I was wondering about was we're so and we have stuff on Disney Plus, like the horrible new Home Alone movie, which is atrocious. I haven't watched it, and I have no plans to.
Then don't call it horrible because you haven't seen it.
No, I can imagine it is because, hey, everybody, hate to break your heart, I didn't like the first Home Alone. Let's not even talk about Home Alone 2. So my question is, say we're basing on movies from 20 to 30 years ago, per se. 20 to 30 years from now, what kind of nostalgia are we going to have? Are we going to have double nostalgia? Are we going to get a new Matrix? We're already out of time. Wow, that went by fast. But are we going to shut it down because I'm on a soapbox and this will be quick pretty soon. But are we going to have to double back and do a Ghostbusters again, a Matrix again, a Scream again, a new Child's Play movie? I don't know. Horror does that quite a bit too. We're not going to have any quote-unquote new nostalgia 20 to 30 years from now. It'll be harder because we're basing all our current movies on trends that were back over here. We're just in a cyclic nostalgia mode right now, I think.
Is it possible that the movies that we tend to lean towards going to see are ones that we enjoy, happen to be things like this that we have a connection to, and if they do, but there are a lot of there are new things coming out, but I think that they just look different, and we don't always necessarily go to the theater to see them. Right,
but the problem is the ones that are generating income right now, that are making the money, for the most part, you could guarantee. Once again, it's hard with COVID and all that junk, people going to see movies, but right now you can see it. Right now, that movies like Ghostbusters. It did really well this past weekend, and I'm sure, I don't know how Scream will do coming up. I'm sure The Matrix is going to kick some butt, but once again, it's frustrating that we're not coming up with original content that causes a buzz that will carry on. I mean, we're even talking about like Star Wars. Look, the Star Wars movies have not been great, but they're still banking bucks because people are still stuck in nostalgia. So I don't know with the generations that are following what kind of nostalgia they'll have, because all the big content will still be based on stuff made 20 to 30 years ago when we were kids.
Again, I would pose, though, that I think part of the problem is that our society as a whole, as the way that we consume movies and TV is extremely different, and it's changing. And I feel like younger generations, they don't necessarily, they like shorter things. You've got like you got Netflix like series where they're longer, but I think that when we go to movies, we fall into a particular category of people that we like to go see movies all the time. And I think that the younger generations, they don't necessarily, I'm not saying that they don't go see movies, but I think it's just different now. And so I just think that we're going to start, I don't know, I think it's going to be just different. They're going to have their nostalgia, but it's going to be like Tiger King or...
Oh, dear Lord. This is another reason why I'm upset about the future of media for our... I mean, at this point, we could have the Squid Games 8. I'd be okay with that. But... they shouldn't make another Squid Games. They should have ended it with the first one. They shouldn't make another one.
I just think that there's stuff that different generations, it's all generational, because we could look at, like, for example, our parents, they don't necessarily like the same movies that we do. So but we've become that, though. Now our kids like the same things we do because, once again, like say Ghostbusters. We've liked Ghostbusters as a kid. Now our kids go and they love Ghostbusters just as much. I feel bad about that because I feel like they're not in I'm not talking about music, I'm shelving that, but like as far as films go, I feel like kids
Kids,
Or
those
getting
kids,
drawn into what their parents like. They don't have
they're
their
like in
own
the
thing.
exact same thing, which is cool.
Some of it.
This is cool for. I think it's cool if you have a kid and you're growing up and they like the same things you do, but they can struggle with finding the niche that they like because all the stuff that the media is pushing out, entertainment wise, is just a reflection of something that we've already had. You know what I'm saying? So they don't get their own niche, which is frustrating. You know. I mean, but let's put it. Let's just be honest about all this. That means the 70s and 80s put out the best art. Okay, the 90s was good. All right, 90s was good, but can't deny. Yes, they're copying all these movies because the 80s had the best flicks. Sorry. You can argue with me on that.
What would be your, like, do you have any major, like, emotional attachments to when you think back of, like, the first Ghostbusters? Like,
yes.
what would you,
all those film what films?
No, just the Ghostbusters.
Yes, because that I lumped that in with a bunch of other movies that once again they fed my love for movies as a whole. They fed my love for creativity. Mm-hmm. They fed my love for these worlds that I hadn't seen before. Mm-hmm. And they're giving me things I hadn't seen before. Special effects were really growing then. You know, I mean, some of the effects really haven't necessarily held up. But you know what I mean? But it was this world opening, all these different things that the 80s films were very fantastical and magical. And they had a sense of magic. I feel like the 70s were gritty. And then the 80s were magical and otherworldly, and and especially for a kid, they presented these universes that you wanted to go to and you wanted to be part of, and they were just fun. You could, once again, as a kid, you could go to an 80s movie, and even though life wasn't that stressful, even though you thought it was, you know, you could really forget everything. You go see this movie, you'd go to school Monday and you tell everybody and they'd seen it too, and that's the other thing, you talk for hours about these movies. And I don't know, I mean, when you find a true movie lover, they'll talk for hours about stuff, but I don't know, you know, I feel like that 80s was special for that. I'm not saying you can't do that now.
Well, do you think that part of it too though is because, like, these days with computers and technology, it's like there's nothing new to really
talk about.
We've seen, well, no, not talk about, but even like you're talking about like
YouTube about all the Easter eggs and all that stuff.
You know, but like all the special effects, it's like it becomes harder and harder to really wow people, especially people like our age, where you get so wrapped up in like how, for example, Star Wars made you feel. Like you went and you were like, wow, and I realized that, you know, you show that to like, you know, our kids. It's like, I mean, you know, it's like, yeah, because they're not as shocked by it because they're the newness, like the amazement's not there, and like maybe I think these days we have so much out there that it's hard to come in and really just show people something that they've never seen before. I mean, you can do that with stories, but not, you know, with a lot of the special effects. It's like,
yeah. And one final thing for me too is like I feel like I'm always chasing after that excitement. Like Ghostbusters, I was so pumped. And I love the movie, you know, but there's always a hint of disappointment because you're always searching for that feeling as a kid. You're always searching for that amazement that you got in a movie. At least that's the drawback for the nostalgia for me.
Yeah.
Is because I'm looking for that same feeling. It's like, you know, you're looking for the next drug and you just can't get the high you used to get. And but that's kind of it for me. You know, I want, like even with Spider-Man coming up next month, I want that same excitement I got from like seeing the first Spider-Man with Tobey. And I know I'm going to walk out of there loving it, but at the same time, that hype, that enjoyment of coming out of it is not the same. And I know that's just getting older because you've seen everything, you've kind of done everything. It's like, I've ridden that roller coaster 30 times. I could sleep on it now. So that's kind of the other frustrating part with nostalgia when going to see a movie like that. You're always hoping for that fix, and you don't necessarily get it. But you know, I just hope that original films can split through all the nostalgia, where kids can clamp onto those things, and then they can have their nostalgia trip 20 to 30 years from now when they're older. So
yeah.
So yeah, we went really long.
Ghostbusters is really good though.
Yeah,
and
so
I do think that the movie stands on its own. You know, I mean, obviously it helps if you've seen the old other ones, but if you haven't, I still say go see it and just enjoy it for what it is. And you may not get all the little like things that are happening in it, but Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really, really good, and it was, and yeah, it just you know, and I know we've talked about this. It gave you kind of a warm, fuzzy.
Yeah, it gave you a warm feeling, especially the ending. No spoilers, but the ending was definitely nice and warm, and yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you know, the actors, the character, you know, all that. It was really, really liked it. I totally suggest going to see it.
So there you go. So anyways.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's all we got. Sorry we went long. Anyway, I'm Brian.
I'm Heather.
And just remember, it isn't a great day until we wasted 5 minutes of your time. Oh, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yep.
And have fun, eat lots of food, and get ready for Christmas because it's time. And we'll see you next week. I'm going to go watch a Star Wars prequel and get upset.